All right, we're back, episode 52, and our guest is a two-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion and the first American to win a title in the World Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Championship, actually twice. He has a win over the BJJ legend Renzo Gracie and many other notable jiu-jitsu practitioners. He is a 5-time MMA world champion, a 2-time racquetball, yeah, you heard it right, a 2-time racquetball world champion, a surfer, a foiler, a life coach, a family man, an entrepreneur, a gym owner, trainer, a true inspiration and local hero. He is Egan Inoue.
Yes,
What's up?
Thanks, man. How's it going?
Good.
That sounded really good.
Hey, you have a pretty impressive history, man.
Thanks.
It always struck me like, racquetball in between all the MMA and the fighting. Suddenly you dropped into racquetball. You have to give us a little bit of insight of that.
Actually, I started with racquetball, right? So that was my first professional sport.
Really?
Was racquetball. And the way I started was, my mom was taking a University of Hawaii course. And then the club that had the racquetball, and racquetball was huge back then. She'd like, come on Sunday, let's play. So I was like, frick, I'll whoop up on my mom. I was 16. Yeah. So I was like, there's no way my mom can beat me in any sport. And then she freaking kicked my butt.
Oh, no way.
Bad. And I kept playing and playing. Let's one more game. And she's like, I can't play anymore. I'm too tired. I'm like, I gotta wait till next Sunday. And then it kept going until I could beat her. And then she brings in this old man that could barely walk. And I'm like, I'll freaking mop this guy. And then I couldn't score a point on the guy. It was perfect placement. And I was like, I can't quit now. I got to beat this guy. And then had all the old guys. And I'm like going, frick, I can't quit. And then I saw the pros. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I just want to travel the world, play racquetball all over the world. And
wow.
That's how it started.
That's crazy. So
yeah.
You got into this just because your mom introduced you to the sport.
Yeah, it's more my mom beat me in the sport.
Beat you in the
sport, period.
So did your mom also beat you in MMA for you to do the transition?
No, I was forced into the MMA part.
How did that happen?
The MMA one started because of Enson. He had a staph infection and he was supposed to fight this guy from Australia. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, and I was there in the hospital with him. And the promoter's like, sign the contract, you got to fight. And I'm like, he can't, he's on an IV, he can't fight. And they're like, wow. And I was already 2-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, but I never fought MMA. And I only, coached Enson. I was only, in his corner. And they were, well, if you fight for Enson, we'll let him off. So like, frick, what am I going to do? The fight's tomorrow. He's not going to be ready.
Oh.
And that's how it started. And then I won that fight. And then I was like, this is not too bad. This is kind of fun, actually. It wasn't like it was a fight, like a street fight.
But you had your jiu-jitsu, training while you did racquetball? Or after?
Actually, when I was playing racquetball, I was doing jiu-jitsu. But I was being super careful that I didn't get hurt because that's, And then while I was playing racquetball, what really helped me a lot was it was all in the continental U.S., all the tournaments. Mm-hmm. But I lived in Hawaii and my sponsors would pay for me to fly out. So I would always schedule like 1 or 2 days after a tournament. Then I'd fly into LA and I would train with Rickson. So I'd stay at Rickson's house and then train in his garage. That's before he had a school.
Wow.
And then I'd come home and practice everything that he taught me. And then every 2 weeks I was back out again.
So you were training with the legendary Rickson Gracie.
Oh yeah, he was phenomenal. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's actually, my first instructor was Enson. And then I would go here and there to Helsing school, but I was never a member. I never really paid. And then my brother was like, man, if you can get a lesson with Rickson, that'd be unreal. So one day when I was in LA, I tracked him down. And he was like, yeah, okay, my friend, let's go. And it was unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So I got really lucky.
Wait, you and your brother are different sizes, though.
Oh, yeah. He's way bigger than me.
And they just, the first fight, rewinding back to that story, they just let you go no more weight class.
Yeah, back before, the weight classes didn't really matter.
So you fought,
I fought heavyweight. Yeah, so I fought heavyweight. But, I fought big guys. In jiu-jitsu, the second year I went, I fought absolute. And my first round guy he was like 280, 6'6".
Oh.
And that was my first round. I was like, these guys really don't want me to win second year in a row, man. They put some beast with me first round. And the guys never lost before. That was what was crazy. And I remember like going, whoa, and everyone's pointing at the draw sheet. Mm-hmm. And I thought they were pointing at me, right? So I was like, oh, wow, everyone's excited to see me fight, right? And then I was like, who's this guy? So I write down his name, then I ask everyone, who's this guy? And then they point to this guy sitting there, and he's like 290.
Oh.
I mean, he was freaking huge. I was like, holy crap, what did I get myself into? Yeah, so I got lucky. I got through that guy.
Wow.
And then, I mean, the rest of the guys are huge. You know, and Hollis Gracie, it was my second round.
Whoa.
And I beat Hollis Gracie. I mean, he wasn't as big as he is now. Like, when I see him in New York, I'm like, holy crap, good thing you weren't that big. I mean, he was big already because that was absolute.
Yeah.
But not like how he is now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, and that was in the ADCC or that was in
Nope,
Brazil?
that was Brazil. That was the
Wow.
Mundials. Yeah.
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 So just to give a little bit of context, I think you were the first American to do it.
Yeah.
And then you did it twice, but then BJ Penn did it also.
Yeah, well, BJ did it in the black belt. So I did it. I was the first non-Brazilian in the blue belt. But that was there was no Americans that would win in Brazil.
Yeah.
And then the purple belt year, I went back again and I went absolute because I wanted to fight all the big guys.
Yeah.
Because I figured that's the best guys, right? All the
Yeah.
big guys. So that was the purple belt year. So I won those 2 years. And then my goal was to win every single belt because there's only maybe 10 guys in the world. Because even BJ competed blue belt, couldn't win. And he was phenomenal. But
Yeah.
man, when you go to Brazil, the blue belts their belts look white. Because some of them are like 15 years training.
Yeah. I bet.
Yeah, 15 years jiu-jitsu, hardcore. And they're so good. So the blue belt was the hardest, you know. And after that, but, you know, they didn't want an American to be 5 different belts or like, you know, all the
Yeah.
belts, right? So, yeah, they blocked me at brown belt. And they're like, no, you're too good for brown belt. You got to go black belt. All right, I'll fight black belt. So I was in Florida at the Pan Ams that year. And they said, okay. I said, I'll fight black belt. Give me a black belt. I don't mind. And they're like, who gave you your black belt? I said, you guys. You said I'm too good for brown belt. And then they're like, no, you can't. You need someone to promote you to black belt. So I was like, oh my gosh. Well, like, I started running around looking for someone. So I found Pederneiras, Andre Pederneiras. That's who BJ got his black belt from. And John Lewis. So I was like, hey, would you give me my black belt? I know this is really weird, but you got to hear this whole story. They're telling me I'm too good for brown belt, so they're not allowing me in the brown belt. And then so he's like, oh yeah, I'll give you a black belt. I said, just so I can compete. You can take it away after. If I win the black belt, then I keep the black belt because I'm world champ. And then Andre was like, yeah. And John Lewis was like, yeah, sure, let's do this. And then right before I get to fight, they're like, oh, you can't. Because of that fight that you had in Hawaii with Rickson Gracie, you're banned for 1 year. And your ban is up next month.
What?
Oh.
So I was like...
You're just writing the rules as they go.
Yeah, I flew all the way to they accepted my entry. I was in Miami, and then they let me weigh in. They collect my money, and then the whole time they knew they weren't going to let me. So they tried to block me from the brown belt and said I'm too good, which maybe that was true, was not true. Then I find someone to give me my black belt, and then they say, oh no, you're still banned. Once I got in there, like they just screwed me bad, and that's when I was like, forget Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I'm gonna go full-on MMA stuff.
That's crazy though that you had this kind of experience.
Yeah.
just to be, you know, in Brazil to fight as an American in Brazil, I can only imagine the hostility.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, people just want to see you lose, tap, and you're like,
especially after you win the first one, right?
Yeah.
But you know, I gotta say that was how some of the guys felt. But then there were guys over there that like Ricardo Laborio, the guy who founded Top Team. He was like, he helped me big time. Like I had this taxi driver right before the tournament not letting me out. It was a $6 US taxi fee, and they were trying to charge me $90.
Oh.
And I was like, dude. So because the second year I went up, I had $350 cash. That's it, because the US team got canceled. They lost all their money. So I had like $1,000, right? And the Machados helped me find a flight up there. So I got a flight to Brazil. It was like almost $700. And then I had a hotel. So I had like $300 left cash. And then I was like, I can't lose. I mean, I'm not going to eat if I got to pay this guy $90. So I was kind of trying to argue with him as best as I can. So I was looking for people to help. Ricardo Laborio walks by and goes, what's the matter, my friend? I said, this guy, I think it's only $6, but he wants 90. But he goes, come here. And he looks at it and he starts arguing with the guy, grabs because the guy was holding on to my bag. He wouldn't let me take my bag. Ricardo takes it and tells him, "You don't pay nothing. This free, this ride." He yells at the guy, slaps the guy, and the guy takes off.
Wow,
And I was like, "Who's this guy?" So I watch him win the world championships in the black belt, and I'm like, "Who the frick is this guy? Unbelievable!"
Wow.
And then that summer, I went back again, and I went to Baja Gracie, and I met Renzo. And Renzo just like did a clinic on me, but in the coolest way possible. He had me in every submission, and just before I tap, he'd be, "Oh, my friend, you got to move this way," and I'd escape. But of course, I escape into the next submission. And I'm like, oh. And then I almost get out of that, and he goes, "Oh, my friend, you got to turn this way now, and you gotta break this grip and that." And then I'd escape. Then I'm at another one and another one. He did that for like a straight hour till I was like, I cannot move already.
But he's one legend, though.
Oh, the guy is the best. I mean, he's so cool to me. Even after all the problems I had with the federation and with Helsin here in Hawaii, he still was like a true Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor, or a champion to me, because he had no fear. Like, he was not worried about me whatsoever.
But I think everybody's talking about him, how he's a little bit different.
Oh yeah, he's totally different.
He's just more of a fun guy to be around.
Oh, he's super fun.
Even though he takes jiu-jitsu very serious and very,
yeah,
but he's just more, easygoing.
Oh yeah, yeah. And when you roll with him, it's so fun. Like I don't think I had so much more fun.
But didn't you win over?
Well, then 2 years later, I fight him in Abu Dhabi, and that Abu Dhabi tournament was, I mean, it was an honor to be invited, because he only took the 60 top, or who he thought, the Sheik did, who he thought was the top 60 in the world.
Yeah.
And so my first year I went, I had to fight Ricardo Laborio.
Whoa.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, I just watched this guy win the worlds 2 years before that. I mean, this guy's so good, there's no way. And then I beat him. And it was like a bittersweet, right? Because I went there to win. But I didn't want to beat Ricardo. The guy just saved me in Brazil 2 years earlier, right? And then the following year, well, then that year I think I lost in the semis. It's some technical call I lost by. And then the next year I fight Ricardo again.
Oh my goodness.
And so I beat him again, but my next round is Renzo. And I'm gonna fight two of my idols.
Yeah.
Like, it's horrible. Like, it's really a horrible thing to fight your idol. And at the same time, an honor to be in the same ring with them. And, I think, like, say as far as skill in jiu-jitsu, there's no chance, even till today, that I'm as good as those guys are. They're, in my mind, they're still way above me in skill and jiu-jitsu knowledge and grappling, just straight up. But I'm really good at figuring out strategies on how to win. I mean, from racquetball days and stuff, I can figure out like little weaknesses that, if I can capitalize on it and I can put enough pressure, I can make people make mistakes. And that was always my theory from racquetball. If I can make the pressure high enough and I can get the game running and I can get our heart rates flying, I'm going to win, because that's how I train. And so that's what I tried to do, and that's what I did with Renzo. I got him like all wound up, and even like Laborio, I got him all wound up, and we were like pushing hard, almost like doing sprints. And I've always had this theory where if you train at 200, or if you train at 200 beats per minute, and you're used to that, but I train at 220, when I get you to 210, that's when you're gonna start falling apart. No matter, I don't care how much better you are than me. If I can get your heart rate up to 210, you're gonna start failing, because most people stop, or their body starts shutting down.
Yeah.
The brain starts not working.
Yeah.
So I used to train at 220 beats per minute, and I'm almost positive that none of these guys train at over 200 beats per minute. So that's always been my theory from racquetball. So I was like what they call a run and gun player. I try to take no timeouts, no 10 seconds between. Yeah, I just get into the box, go, and then make guys run with me. And so that's kind of the same thing I did with jiu-jitsu, because some of those blue belts, there's no way I was better than them. But if I got them to move at my pace, at some point they're going to start falling apart. And that's usually how I won my matches.
Yeah, I was just about to ask if racquetball was like kind of the set you up for success.
Yeah.
Because I know when I compete, there's one thing that I cannot win is over my anxiety.
Yeah. Oh,
Once I step into in on the mat and I have a fight where it's not just a friend or something that like you said, like someone you look up to.
yeah.
Brah, that's anxiety all through the body. Sometimes I feel like my arms are like spaghetti. Like I can't even control it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Just to keep it down, I think that's a talent itself.
Yeah, that that's from racquetball, right? That kind of stuff I learned competing in racquetball, because when I saw the pros, I saw the top guys, and I wanted to be like them. And within a couple years, I'm playing them. So I learned how to deal with those things. I mean, even when I saw Laborio's name and I was gonna fight him and Renzo, I was sick. Like I saw that, I was like, oh, I went back to my room. I was like, oh, fatigued already before the fight. And then I had to go through the mind things, that mindset, and build myself back up.
So what do you tell yourself before a fight to get into the groove, to get into the focusness, to be laser sharp?
So the thing that helped me through racquetball, and it helped me through BJJ and MMA and any kind of competitions I do, is I always fall back on my training. So I just remind myself how hard I trained, what I did to get here, and just believing that what I did was the right thing to do for training, and just let it go. It's going to happen. You're going to win. And it sounds simple like that, but it's not, because the human mind, and at least for me, I'm always doubting myself, and I'm always second guessing myself. And I always see myself getting caught in an arm lock. I see myself getting choked. I always see myself losing, and I got to rewind that visual and then change it. And so that's a lot of the process. And it was the same with racquetball. It's the exact same thing. And I think, besides that mental part I learned from racquetball and the training stuff that I learned from racquetball, a lot of the things are very similar, like strategy-wise. Like I learned in racquetball that my temperament and my personality isn't the type to get in your face and be like, what's up, kind of look you down, up and down, try to taunt you. I tried it in racquetball, and it kind of worked, but then I'd feel bad. Then I'd feel like, ugh, and then I wouldn't play good. And then if I did win, I'd walk away like, yeah, I won, but I freaking had to use these antics, and I didn't feel good about it. So then I kind of slowly shifted to where I'm just going to be me. And when I was doing that, I could win again. And I feel good about winning. Right? And it's funny because I just made a post on that on my Instagram, because that's such a big thing for me, because I see a lot of people, you imitate the best in the world because that's what you want to be. But if that guy's temperament isn't your temperament, it's no good. Like almost like John McEnroe. You guys remember John McEnroe from tennis?
Yeah.
Super cocky, and hey, what is your strength, John? And he'd be like, my strength is I have no weakness. And he was cocky. So I wanted to be like that. But then I feel stupid after, like, oh, I can't believe I said that.
Yeah.
And then it affected my playing, and it affected me off the court. And then I feel bad, and I feel stupid, and all of that kind of stuff, right? So I started to learn, like, before the jiu-jitsu matches, I'll always smile at my opponent, shake their hand. MMA stuff too, when guys are staring me down, I smile and I'm like, shake their hand. I go, good luck, I hope you fight good. I didn't want them to fight good, right? But I didn't want them mad at me, wanting to knock my head off either. Even if they did, one of the things they're always like, oh, I can't wait to freaking punch his freaking face. I punch that smile off his face. All the guys always said that in the interviews. And I'd be like, oh, good luck, I hope you do.
It's so weird that you say that. In my last fight, I fought the expert division. So I fought one of the professors of a different school. And I thought as a purple belt, I should come and I should, shake his hand, just like you said, and be like, nice, and say, hey, thank you so much for taking the match against me. I really appreciate that, and da-da-da-da-da. And then I felt like such a fucking douche, like going over there and just telling this guy, hey, we're here to fight, and he came in like all like riled up, pre-workout, fucking, oh, you purple belt, oh, fuck, I'm gonna kill you, no way I'm gonna lose this one. So the moment, the referee said, go, brah, he went all out, and he just hugged me for 6 minutes straight on the floor. He didn't want to let go. He just hugged for 6 minutes. That's how hard he didn't want to, even let it to be playful.
Yeah.
And then I felt like maybe I shouldn't have come like a fucking,
hi, nice to meet you. My name is Jonathan. I'm a purple belt.
You know, I should have been like all the fighters. You know, just look at him. Oh, you want somebody's? Huh?
Make them like fight, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I don't know, man. I still haven't figured out that fine tuning of that mind game that is very important when you go into a physical fight, which is full contact. I mean, you have to somewhat let the guy not think that you are a pushover.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying, like being, you know, yourself and being respectful and so on. But I don't know, man. I just felt like a fucking douche.
Maybe you should have been funny because you seem like you have like more of a comical personality, and that might have been. You know. Because I remember Renzo walking up to me before the fight, and he had this different look than I ever seen, and he wasn't friendly whatsoever. And I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna fucking die, right? I'm gonna get my ass kicked, right? But I tried to smile as best as I could, and I was like, good luck, Renzo. I said, let's have a fun fight. He was like, I was like, okay, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you know him coming so aggro to you. Yeah. You said, oh shit, I have to, you know, be on top of my game. But I don't know, man. It's very it's a controversial issue. You know?
It depends what works for you. It really does.
It is personality based. I feel like.
I think so too.
Depending what gives yourself the juice to go in, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But for you, it's obviously discipline, right? Where does that come from? Your parents? Does that come from, like, where is your intense discipline from? Because what I'm taking is that you take it into everything. Yeah.
Well, I think discipline came kind of young. I think because Enson's a good athlete. Like Enson's a great athlete. I'm a good athlete. So I'm not like you throw me in a pool of kids and I'm maybe a little better than the average guy, but Enson's always the top. He's always been like freaking like fiercely strong, like lifting weights wise. He'll like before he'd see guys doing 325 and he goes, "Oh, can I jump in like for warm-ups?" And I look and he'd like do 10 reps and then rack. He goes, "Oh, let me know when you guys in 400s." And he'll walk away, and I'm like, wow. Like, took me years to be able to bench 400.
Isn't he your
He's my younger brother. Yeah. So by the time we were 6th grade, he was the same size and same weight. And so he was like, and he was beastie. Like, I would walk away from fights. He'd be like, "Oh, you want to fight my brother? Fight me." And like he'd just be beating up people from on the street from young, and I was never in any fights. So for me to get into MMA was just one of those things where. That wasn't my plan whatsoever. I don't like to fight. And every fight, right before the fight, I'm never doing another one. And after the fight, I'm like, maybe I need to do another one. And then even after the ones I lost, I got to fight again. I can't freaking quit on a loss. You know, and that's why I made my comeback after 5 years of retirement. Because I lost my last fight. And I was like, frick, I can't. I got to fight someone else.
Which is also crazy. You know, you literally retired. You went... I think you retired 2003?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And then after 5 years, he was offered to come back in 2008 and to fight. And I think it was here on the Blaisdell, no?
Yeah, it was at the Blaisdell.
It was a Blaisdell.
21-year-old guy.
And he said, yeah, I'll do it. And fucking went in after 5 years. Yeah. This is crazy. I never heard about someone coming in out of retirement after 5 years to fight.
Yeah, that was a long, long period, you know.
Yeah.
I was already 42 at that time. But thank God I stayed in shape the whole time.
So even when you retired, you continued to train?
Yeah, I continued to train. And I mean, I still do. I just never stop. It's one of those things where it's kind of
a way of life.
Yeah, it's a way of life. Totally.
Yeah. So what is your daily regimen, if I may ask? So
I usually wake up like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm usually up almost automatic, like 5 minutes before I'm up. And then... I mean, I got some chores that I do, like empty the dishwasher. I make my shake. I don't drink my shake right away. I just make it. And then I head over to the gym. And when I get to the gym, I got these heat warmer things that I lay on. And then I do my breathing exercises. I've been doing like Wim Hof stuff for about 11 years now.
Wow.
So I'll go through that. And then I do push-ups. I do a lot of calisthenics. So I'll do push-ups, sit-ups, squats. And then I have a you know, pretty much a routine. Then I'll go through some stretching and some, you know, like not yoga poses, but like different stretching poses that I do. And depending on what my morning's gonna be like. So like, say for example, Tuesday, Wednesdays I teach boot camp classes. Monday, Thursdays I teach at 5 and a 6 a.m. and I'm done by 6:30, and then I head to the ocean, and then I foil board. Monday, Thursday, Friday I train. I do a personal training at 5:30 to 6:30. So I'm usually in the water by 7 every single morning. Ooh. Whether it's small, whether it's freaking like small craft advisories, whatever, I'll paddle out either way. Either on my stand-up paddle foil or my prone foil, depending on the size of the waves. And that's pretty much my workout.
And that's daily.
That's daily. That's every single day.
Yeah.
And once every 6 to 8 days, I'll lift. And I'll go kind of heavy, like deadlifts, power cleans. Where I like to work single, like only one side of my body. So like right leg only, left leg only, right arm, left arm, or right side, left side. And then I'll do combinations. And like my whole thing is about keeping the body even. So like a lot of times if you do heavy squats, you can be favoring one side.
Yeah.
You just don't know because the human body is so good at balancing. And then if you do a single leg squat, one leg's way weaker than every single person. So everyone I train, when I break them down, I find where their weaknesses are. And I think it's from racquetball, you're always figuring out weaknesses. And then when I wrestle with guys like jiu-jitsu wise, I don't like, how a lot of people pass one side, or if you try to pass a guy's guard on one side, cannot. But you go the other way, can. But you're not good at passing on both sides. So like for me, if you ask me what side do you pass, right or left, I don't even know. I pass both sides. Like if I start running into roadblocks and it's like, oh, this guy's kind of good on this, I'll try the other side. And then I'll just keep going back and forth until I find the weak side. So, and I learned that from Barrett Yoshida, because when I trained Barrett, it's almost impossible to pass his guard on one side. You almost cannot. You're going to fall into some kind of trap.
And he's still fighting.
Oh, he's still fighting.
He just fought the last fight to win.
Yeah.
Every time I see his name on the card, I'm like, not.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yep. So that's the only way I'd pass his guard. So I've always developed both sides. I mean, even, when I played baseball, I could hit right hand, left hand. Because I always believe in working both sides. When I played racquetball, I used to play right hand, left hand. Of course, not as good as my right hand. But my whole theory was like I learned from the pool hustlers. They always played left because they're so good at their regular hand that they can run the table. From the break, they run the whole table, right? And every once in a great, long periods, they'll make a mistake. But to find those mistakes, they'd play the opposite hand. And whatever mistakes they made on their opposite hand, that's what they said was their issue on the regular hand. And so I picked that up from them, and it was true. I'd play racquetball left hand, and the shots I'd miss, those are the shots my right hand was going to make mistakes at some pressure point. And jiu-jitsu is the same way. MMA, every sport is the same. That's what I believe.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you ever write a book?
I did write a book, but not on that. I'm one of those guys, like I keep all my stuff to myself because I don't want to share, because my opponent might see it or hear it, and then he's going to use it against me.
You're retired already.
so now I'm retired. Well, my wife's like, you got all these theories, and you're going to die with it? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to die with it. I'm going to teach my kids, and that's it. Yeah. And then I started training my son, and then I'm like, oh, I may as well get other kids because it's way more fun for my son. And then so I was like, hey, you know what? And then I started, my one-on-one trainings, and of course all my students that I've had, I've always trained them that way. So like till today, Barrett will still talk about the stuff that I worked in and Marcus Wilson over, and like all of those guys. And now I on Instagram, I'll show some of the things that I do and some of my beliefs in weight training, which is completely different than most people. And I've been slowly leaking everything out.
Ooh.
Yeah. So,
opening the vault.
Yeah, opening the vault. Before I forget.
Hey, you know what? I think this is what it's all about. I think this is what life is all about. What you learned out of your experience and your life lessons. Once you nurture your community with your knowledge, as this is your good deed for the world.
Yeah.
You're paying your dues to the community by sharing your knowledge, basically.
Yeah, like giving back.
Yeah, totally.
So that's why, like this past year, we started a youth training camp. So I do youth training camps now at our gym.
Nice.
so I can share with the youth. So hopefully I can give back, because Hawaii, we got so much good athletes.
Yeah.
So many good athletes. But it's one thing or another. It's injuries that happen to these kids that play only one sport.
Yeah.
Right?
Or mac salad.
Yeah. Or mindset. They leave Hawaii and they get homesick.
Yeah.
I mean, I know so many good wrestlers from
Yeah.
Hawaii. They
Yeah.
went to college, came home
Yeah.
because they couldn't take it.
Yeah. I know a few of them.
Yep. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. They
There's a
literally had sponsorship. They
Yep.
had I actually arranged for one of them to train with Heckelman when he was still training.
Chuck.
Not Chuck. The Brazilian guy. He was training.
Who's Heckelman? Brazilian.
He was training one of the Brazilian guys. He was before a fight, and then he said, "Look, I'm finishing this fight, but send your guy over. I would love to help him." So yada 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 yada. They were training out of Seattle, and then he said, "John, look, I know you arranged for everything." I even talked to this guy's dad. The dad was all up for it. Said, "Let's go, let's go." And then in the end, he said, "Look, I can't. I just can't live Hawaii. I can't leave over here. I can't."
Yeah.
They're a big family though. They have like 5 brothers,
Yeah.
and he just said like, I
Yeah.
cannot be there by myself.
Yeah. Hard.
Yeah. It is very important to also share that in addition to the youth class, Egan actually trains a 90-year-old dude. I've seen it. With my own eyes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this guy has perfect posture. This guy is doing deadlifts, fucking nuts. Looks like unreal. Tell us a little bit about this guy.
So this guy's 97 years old, and he never lifted weights in his whole life. So we started off with, he never lifted weights, didn't want to lift weights, and he just wanted to get in better shape. So I was like, all right. So we started off with like a lot of the things I do, like a lot of coordination stuff. So I had him like throwing this ball against the wall, like it's a good shoulder routine, and I had him doing coordination. And I thought, as you get older, you want the brain to stay, and if you're not doing Sudoku and reading a lot, I thought to myself, like, I'm gonna get old one day, and I don't like to read, and I don't play Sudoku. So what's gonna happen to my brain? Then I thought, you know what, coordination stuff really makes your brain work and makes your central nervous system work. So I came up with these different drills that I got from different times I hurt my shoulder, and all the ones that worked with your central nervous system and connection to coordination and dexterity, I started doing. So he started doing that, and it was like really hard for him. He started at 10 seconds and couldn't do anymore, and his heart rate would be jacked up. And then his left hand was super uncoordinated. And then as the time went on, he started getting better and better. Now he's up to 1 minute on each hand. And he can do 1 minute.
Wow.
And we just started doing like opposite sides. So it bounces on the wall, bounces back. And it's a 2-pound ball, so it's not like super light. And your arms got to stay up this way the whole time. So like for shoulder strength, it's big. But it's focus, central nervous system's got to work, dexterity in your hands, because people start like, they don't know how to use their fingers and hands. And then I noticed, like, when I talk to him, he's like way sharper.
Ooh.
Like I can see it getting sharper. And we have like seriously good conversations. And before he'd be like telling me something, and he'd stop and be like, I think I had a senior moment. And he'd like completely forget what we're talking about. It hasn't happened in months now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
and then
insane.
squats, I make him do squats. Now we're on one-legged squats.
Oh.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a process, And then it's not only strength training, then I work on mobility after. So we used to train for 10 minutes and he was done. And then now we're training for 30 minutes. And then I spend the other 30 minutes like doing I go through his body massage-wise, find little knots and tightnesses. And then I start moving the joints and stretching it out. So he's got more mobility.
Wow.
So he can get down on the ground, stand right back up.
Wow, at 97.
At 97.
Many people need 4 bottoms, 4 legs to move, and he's lifting on 1.
Yep.
That's tremendous.
So I got him doing some phenomenal stuff, and just recently we started lifting weights upstairs, and his mindset is the key. And like I want to make sure that I keep that, I can like take that mindset with me too, because like like when you do like those sleds for legs, the one the hack squats where that thing slides up and down. That thing's pretty heavy by itself. So I put him on that machine, and he was kind of like, oh, how do you work this? I said, well, you're going to lean on it. You're going to put your foot here on the platform, and you're going to lower yourself down nice and slow. And then you're going to come back up. Okay. So I get him on that. And every single person, and if you guys did any of those before, you'll know, you get down to a certain point, and you're going to go back up, even if it's not all the way down.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't know if I can come back up. Not this guy. Freaking went. Kept going. I'm going, oh, dude, he's almost at the bottom. So I start getting ready to grab the sled, and I'm watching him going down, and he's still going slow. Then we get to the bottom, and he goes, and then now what? I said, I got to come back up. Oh, okay. Ooh, it's heavy. He just looks at me, oh, heavy. I said, you want help? Oh, no, let me try again. Maybe I can get it. So he started again, so I push it a little bit without him looking, and he gets all the way up. He goes, okay. All the way down, all the way up, all the way down, all the way up. Like, it was almost like he was trying to learn the angle and where to put force. But in his mind, he never got scared. There's no fear whatsoever. And I was like, that's the way to do it. I mean, that's how they got to think. Like, in his mind, there's nothing that he cannot do.
Yeah.
And I want to say maybe 4 months ago, I did this thing on my Instagram, and I talked about after the age of 40, most people are still living, but they're just waiting to be buried. And people are like, what the frick do you mean by that? It's because I cannot do this. I cannot do this. I'm too old for that. I'm too old for this. I'm too old for that. So you cannot do nothing really anymore. Like, you're going for walks. And basically anything exciting or fun, like snowboarding or skiing that you never did, you're not going to try because you think you're too old. So basically you're just waiting to be buried.
So true.
Right? And there's a lot of people like that. You know, and I've been lucky because since I made that, I ran into this doctor who's a longevity doctor, but he doesn't want to see everybody. He wants to pick and choose because he's retired. He's 80. He told me the other day he's going to go snowboarding in Japan.
Whoa.
I was like, you snowboarded before? He goes, no. I was like, oof. Then I was looking at him, and he's completely convinced he's going to snowboard. So I wasn't about to tell him, oh, dude, you know how sore it is when you catch an edge? I just did 3 weeks ago, and I freaking thought I was crippled.
Where did you go?
I went to Big White in Canada.
All right.
So I had a $350 ticket. Frick, I jumped on it, I went.
Nice.
But, you know, like some of the edits is bad on the snowboard. And I don't go fast. I'm not one of those fast, but I like to do like butters and tricks, right? So if you're trying a new trick or you're trying to get better at a trick, you're going to catch an edge. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
And so I know it's going to happen. It happens. I know it's going to happen to this guy too, but I'm not going to tell him.
Yeah.
I want to see, and I'm going to be in Japan at the same time he's going to be in Japan, and we're going to be in the same mountain too.
Oy.
So I'm like going, should I tell him I'll teach him? But I don't want to be his instructor and he freaking breaks his hip.
Yeah.
Because those falls are violent.
Yeah.
Where are you going to Seiko?
No, actually going to be in the, no, we're going to stay in the Tokyo one. So we're just going to go to Nagano area.
All right.
So we're going to go actually Hakuba.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
I'm flying out March 12th. I'm flying to Hokkaido with the kids.
No way.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
you're going to be in
snowboard.
Japan too. Nice.
It's going to be a good one.
And you snowboard?
Yeah.
Well,
But it's,
no, we're gonna get the snow monkeys up there.
Snow monkeys in Hakuba. That's why we're picking Hakuba.
Oh.
I mean, I think there's snow monkeys up there too, but they're the famous ones in Hakuba where they don't steal your stuff.
Oh yeah, I went with my other half, and we took a bus, bro, overnight from Osaka to Nagano.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is where like they're in their habitats.
Yeah.
You walk in there and you just watch them do their thing, bro. Sitting in a hot bath.
Yeah.
You know, I tell everybody
The
to jump
monkeys?
inside.
Yeah.
And you just walk around or walk around them like you're in their world.
Yeah.
In this case, so you just go do you. They're just trying to survive because they're cold, so they're like sitting inside the bath, which looks super cute. Until you realize they're in the bath pooping and peeing, so it's a little different, but they're just roaming around, man. And you're in the snow mountains. This is my first time seeing snow.
dude,
It's
I
up there.
never heard about that. I gotta.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yes,
I
It's
can't
small
believe I'm gonna
town,
miss
too.
that.
it's like small town action up there. Like
Wait, they have it in Nagano, but it's also in Hokkaido, or just
No, I don't know where in Hokkaido, but I'm sure they gotta be
we
there
did
too.
another one too in Osaka side. I forget where though, but the other one we went to, it's a little different. Where you go inside of a house, like a enclosement, and they have fences all around, and you can feed them through the cage, but you're inside, they're outside.
Oh,
but those snow monkeys are a little more violent because they're trained.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they know they're gonna get food. They all fight each other in front of you, as opposed to them Nagano, where they're just
they're
surviving.
free. Yeah.
Bruh, that's epic. I never heard about that shit.
Yeah, they're cute little monkeys, bro.
But for me, I never was a athlete at all. I never did any sports at all my life. I did skateboard, I did surfing. I wasn't really, a crazy athlete. But starting jiu-jitsu with the age of 33 made me feel like I can try anything. And even though I did snowboard since I'm a little kid, I never was the one that jumps and do the crazy stuff. In the past 4 or 5 years, I'm doing crazy stuff. I'm doing jumps. I'm doing everything.
There you go.
I feel so so relieved of that. I don't have that fear anymore of telling myself I'm not an athlete, because after jiu-jitsu, after facing 280-pound guys, 250, 230, you're like, what's going to happen? I'm going to fall. This is snow. The guy that I just fought on the mat is 280 laying on me trying to choke me out.
Yep.
I can handle.
Yep, that's true.
And it changed honestly, it changed my life. Even my wife, we're together for 20 years. She's like, wow, you got balls. Back in the day when we met, you were like one bitch. I'm like, say what? No, for real. I mean, I think it's the believing thing.
Yeah, I think so.
I truly believe that. It's once you believe that you can, your mind can do anything.
Yeah, 100%. I believe that. I mean, like this 80-year-old doctor that I was telling you about, he still rolls jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
And he taps white and blue belts. But the way I know him is 30 years ago, I was giving him and his kids private lessons, and they've been doing jiu-jitsu ever since.
Wow.
And this guy has never stopped. Unbelievable.
Well, jiu-jitsu is addictive.
Yeah.
You can't stop.
Oh, yeah.
Once you start and you get into it, I never heard about anybody that stopped.
Yeah.
Everybody falls in love immediately with the sport. It's
and they get addicted.
crazy.
You sleep and dream about it. You can't stop. Yeah.
Do you think that having your brother with you made you a better practitioner?
We kind of went separate ways on jiu-jitsu. You know, he taught me the importance of doing drills and doing things over and over, and I already knew that from racquetball too. But in jiu-jitsu, it's more fun to roll.
Yeah.
Right? And racquetball, I guess, is the same, to just play games, but it doesn't necessarily make you better. I mean, it makes you better if you just keep doing it, but it doesn't make you precise. It doesn't make you like deadly.
Yeah.
You know, and every single student of mine, I always tell them, you should be so good at one thing that everybody goes, oh, watch out for the guy's triangle, or whatever the technique is. Watch out for this, because in racquetball, it was like that. And once you get people fearing one technique or one shot, now everything else doesn't need to be perfect anymore, because they're so scared of this one thing. And if you think about Barrett, he'll post all the stuff that he's been working on, or one thing that he's working on. So at one point, it was the crucifix. Freaking crucifix everybody. And you can watch it over and over on Instagram, but you cannot stop him. And that was my thing, is like, it's almost like long time ago, Oklahoma used to have the Oklahoma wishbone. Everybody knew how to defend it. Nobody could stop them. Nobody. But on paper, they all knew how. But until they felt the force and the speed Oklahoma was coming at, that's when they were like, oh crap. And I used to every single student of mine that got real good, that's one of the things that I always pointed out to them, that you can know everything that I do, but until you feel how quick I am, or how strong I am, or how precise I am, you're gonna be like, oh crap, how I thought I was gonna stop it, I can't.
Yeah. Because the technique, you're right. Everybody knows the technique. They can open an Instagram and see the technique.
Yeah.
But it's how you apply it.
Mm-hmm. And how you approach it, and your setup for it.
Yeah.
I mean, because Barrett did that, and then he made up this assassin choke with the gi, lapel. Showed it on over and over. He still catches guys with that. And in one tournament, that's all he'll do. The whole tournament. And he'll catch everybody with the same thing.
Jeez.
I was asking that because when I look at, the Mendes brothers, the Noguera brothers, the Rutolo brothers, I mean, there's so many brothers that train together on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So of course they get faster, better
Yeah.
than me having to go to class and be
Yeah.
at class and do what class is doing. I always was under the impression if you have your brother at home, you can just scrap all day and work on technique, do the drills. So of course you will progress faster. I think also BJ had his brother.
Oh yeah, he had 2 brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? You're right. Now that I think about it, you just made me remember. So, where my parents lived, there's a Japanese school and there's a judo place, and I had the key for that judo place. And sometimes at 2:00 in the morning, Enson would wake me up. Egan, I got this new technique I just thought of. I want to try. So we go down there, open it up, we train. So you're right, because we did get a lot better than everyone, a lot faster, because we had that place to train.
Yeah.
And we had each other, of course,
2
right?
pounds idea.
Yeah, and I don't know if I helped him that much, because he was the one that was good at it. But I sure got good from him.
You're very humble, my friend. You're very humble.
Ultimately, bro.
I think you helped him too.
Yeah, I helped him learn how to make people tap. That was I got good at going, okay.
Tap comes on the hip, tap will
Yeah,
come on the
yeah,
shoulder, it'll come on the elbow. Just
Yeah.
be aware, okay?
Yeah.
It'll come on the neck
Yeah.
sometimes.
Then when I was irritated, I tapped him on the face.
But it's so beautiful, in Hawaii when there's a good fighter. Like in Hawaii, they really appreciate the warriors. They
Oh.
really, really appreciate the warriors.
Yeah.
I really feel that over here more than anywhere else. If you would fight out of Virginia, you wouldn't have that people looking up to you. Over here in
Oh,
Hawaii,
yeah.
everybody know you and your brother. Everybody knows you guys.
Yeah.
You were like legends of the game.
Yeah.
You were like people that everybody looked up to. And if you were talking about MMA or jiu-jitsu, it was the Inoue brothers. It was like, oh yeah, they're fighting Japan. They're
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was you, because growing up, like I wasn't much into MMA. We were into scrapping. We love scrapping where I'm from.
Yeah.
And I remembered watching you one time, and you were like a superhero because it was the first time I've ever seen a Superman punch.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they used that clip like forever for the ads for was it Super Brawl?
Super Brawl.
And I just it was just mind blowing to me. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, he left his feet. Like, is this a real thing? Like, because growing up in the streets, like
Yeah.
you only know 1, 2s or
Yeah,
3s,
yeah.
and this guy would leap in the air, and I think that was I swear in my head you invented it. You know what I mean? 'Cause I was like,
Yeah.
I have never seen this before. You were like a comic book character, like like.
I was probably the first that did it in MMA.
See, that's
But I learned it in Thailand from our Thai instructor. He was famous for it. This guy, Santi Inoue. Yeah, so I learned it from him, and he said, guarantee this is going to work. And so I did it over and over and over, and one day I was like, I'm going to try it. And it freaking worked.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
my mind was blown. I was
Yeah.
like, what's going on? Like, who is this guy? Like,
Yeah.
that is
the only
insane.
other person I remember doing it was George St. Pierre. Other than that, nobody really is doing it.
But I
Yeah.
think this was pre-George St. Pierre.
Yeah.
no?
Yeah,
This
yeah,
was
yeah,
pre-George,
yeah, yeah.
And I did on choke times in UFC. Like he's in the button playing the game,
Yeah,
over and over and over. Like,
And it worked in the game, too?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just a shock to me. Like, and
Yeah.
it's more shocking that to know that striking is not even your main route.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So where did striking? So you started doing MMA. First fight to fight for your brother.
Yeah.
From there, you went into.
So the thing is, like, jiu-jitsu was my thing, but growing up, from when I was 5, I did karate, so I did Shotokan. Not that helped any of the striking, but then from there, I did Wing Chun. I did a lot of different arts, and then when I was playing racquetball, one of my managers, or actually my main manager, was also he was a doctor, so he was the doctor of the Kronk Boxing Gym. That's Emmanuel Stewart.
Oh.
That's where who came out of there? Like, so many world champions came out. Hearns, what is his name? Tommy Hearns. He was out of there. So he'd be like, hey, Egan, for your footwork for racquetball, I'm going to take you to Emmanuel. He's going to work you. So he'd work my boxing. And boxing is footwork.
Yeah.
So it was good for racquetball. And so every time I was in Detroit, take me over there, hours and hours every single day. And I was like, this is freaking cool, man. Like stack, hitting the mitts. And I was like, holy frick, I like this. Right? But I didn't want to spar. And then he would have me spar sometimes. I think Michael Nunn at the time was there. He's also a world champ boxer, and he was super cool. And he'd just move around and he'd go ahead, hit me, and I couldn't hit him. Like I was like, wow, I want to learn that too. So I would, little by little, every time I would be in Detroit a lot, boxing, not thinking that I was going to actually fight one day. And then I went to Thailand to learn Muay Thai because Enson had a guy, and he goes, "Oh, Egan, you got to check this guy out." And I was like, "Oh." He's like, "Yeah, he's 32 years old and he's still fighting in Lumpini Stadium." And I'm like, 32? These guys are usually done by 20 because they're so beat up.
Yeah.
But this guy's technique was different. And then that's the guy who taught me the Superman punch. He goes, "Your next fight, you do this." And he showed me the thing, and I was like, okay. And of course, he made me do it 1,000 times before I left Thailand. And it's like, okay, here it goes.
Was it hard to retire from so much action and so much, excitement and energy into retiring?
You know what? It's super hard. So when I quit racquetball, I traveled like in 10 years on the pro circuit. I traveled about 1 million miles on just United Airlines.
Oh.
So when I retired from that, there was this time and space where I didn't know I felt lost. Like I was kind of spinning, and I didn't know what's next. I didn't think jiu-jitsu was going to be the next thing, even if I was training. And I was training jiu-jitsu, but I didn't think anything. And then one day someone goes, "You know that there's a world championships in jiu-jitsu?" And I was like, "Oh, really? Like what?" And so I hear guys talking about it, and I'd be like, "Oh, interesting." And then one guy said, "Yeah, you think you would enter?" I said, "Well, I wouldn't mind trying to enter a jiu-jitsu tournament one day." And we didn't have any in Hawaii at the time yet. And they said, "Wow, maybe you got to go to California. They got a bunch of tournaments." So I started looking, and it didn't have internet, so it wasn't like you could research on the internet. So I had to talk to people, had to look at magazines, and didn't have anything about jiu-jitsu. And then I met some Brazilian guys, and they're telling me they spoke good enough English to tell me "Oh yeah, I got this and this," and I was like, "Oh wow." And one guy goes, "But no one but Brazilians can win Brazilian jiu-jitsu." And so I was like, "Oh, how come?" "Well, that's why they call it Brazilian jiu-jitsu, my friend, because only Brazilians are good at it." I was like, "Oh, okay." And that's another thing with racquetball. When I decided I wanted to be a pro, I told a couple people, and they're like, "You got to move to the mainland. There's nobody from Hawaii can be a racquetball world champion. You got to live in San Diego with all the best." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be the racquetball champion from here, right here in Hawaii." And so kind of the same thing triggered, and I was like, "Oh, here goes." I'm going to be the first non-Brazilian to win world title. Because, to me, it's you got your goal. If you figure out the process and how you're going to get there, kind of hard to stop. And if you do the research properly, which what I did was I flew to Brazil, and I went to all the different jiu-jitsu schools, and I trained at all of them with all the best guys. And I didn't even use anything that I knew. I tried to use no strength. I tried to play halfway through I'm not tired, and I see the other guy getting tired, so I'd act like I was tired too. And I just so I could learn it, because I know that when someone feels like you're a threat, and because I knew how the Gracies the Gracies here in Hawaii was like, "Oh, this is secret technique. You cannot show this, and you cannot train here because I'm gonna show you our stuff, and I don't want it anyplace else." I had that thought that all Brazil was like that, so I didn't want to be a threat to any of them. But I knew I had to know who's the guys and what am I up against. And so I spent a month there going from school to school, basically getting destroyed by everybody, but totally calculated. And then met Renzo, and Renzo just lit my world up, because I was like, "Oh, frick, I know how I'm going to get good. Just the way he did to me, I can do to everybody in Hawaii." And so I brought all my friends, and I taught them jiu-jitsu, and I would do the same thing Renzo did to me. And I started getting better and better. My transitions started getting real clean. And that's just how it, but that's how it goes.
But just to understand, so you decided to retire from all of that and then just open your own gym and teach? Because there's something being a fighter. There's some excitement, some adrenaline, some, like you said, you see the goal. Oh, this is what they say. I can't do this.
Yeah.
Okay, calculate this in order to get there. I got to do this. You did.
Yeah.
You got it. You won.
Yeah.
But training other people, I mean, you need to be very calm, a lot of patience. You have to have a lot of zen.
Yeah.
Because you're like, do it already. So it's a totally different aspect, totally different approach from being a fighter than being just a trainer to help others become a better version of themselves.
So for me, my whole thing was I needed guys so I could get better. So my whole thing was like, if you guys are my students, I'm gonna make you as good as fast as I can, because I need you guys to and I would tell everybody, I need you to get better. I need you guys so I can win the world championship. I need bodies, so I need to make you guys good. And so that's how I started teaching, is trying to speed up the process. And a lot of schools is like, oh, you got to be here for this many months. You need this to get belts. My thing was like, frick, if you can scrap, freaking let's go. If you're gonna come every day, let's go. You got to be in shape. You got to I had all these criteria, so we did all the trainings, and everybody who'd come. And I had then my school started growing, and I had really good guys to train with. And, from those offshoots became all, Brandon Wolf and all those guys, Nico Vitale, even Jesus is Lord, Brother Cooper, all the names, all used to train with me at one point.
Ooh.
And then they slowly offshot and started their own schools, which for me, I don't care.
Beautiful.
I don't care. Yeah, and Jesus is Lord. All those guys are all good wrestlers, and they'd always come back, and we have like in-house sort of rivalry, but good training.
Yeah.
Teach you guys some submissions. You guys teach us some wrestling.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. And Brandon Wolf and those guys are all good strikers, all kickboxers by trade.
Yeah.
Work with us in our kickboxing. We work with you on your. And so that's kind of my theory. And I never wrestled before, but if you watch me, you think I'm a good wrestler.
Yeah.
And my only wrestling was from Randy Couture. He wanted to learn submissions. So I went up to Oregon, and I stayed there for periods of time, and he'd do submissions. I'd learn wrestling. And so basically just having private lessons from him was making my wrestling just so, he was a world champ.
Yeah.
Wrestler, Greco-Roman, and that was perfect. And so that's
one of the legends.
Oh yeah, he's the legend, and he's the coolest, humblest guy. Yeah. So, that was a really cool thing. And then it was sad my brother had to fight him, right? And I was already training him at that moment. And then when I found out that my brother was going to fight him, I was like, oh frick! I knew what my brother's thing was arm locks. So I felt really bad not working any arm locks with him at all. I wouldn't, I'd go for his feet. I'd show him foot locks, teach him about foot locks, and teach him about chokes, and teach him about all those things, but I stayed away from arm locks. And then when he got arm locked, I was like, oh. So if you see that fight, when the fight was over, the first person I went to was him. Because I felt bad, but his wrestling mentality, those guys are so tough that it was hey, doesn't matter. You and me train today, we fight tomorrow, it's cool. You beat me, you're better than me today, but that doesn't mean you're better than me. Yeah. And I was like, what a freaking mindset these guys have.
Yes.
That's why you're so freaking good.
Yes.
And I learned that too, because so many times we're so afraid to lose to people because that means you're better than me.
Yeah.
But if you think you're only better than me just now, but tomorrow I might beat you. Wow, that's a freaking strong mindset. Yep. And that's some of the things I tell the kids that I train now, because I'm like, hey, just because you lost doesn't mean that guy's better than you. He might have got lucky and you might have not been on it. You might have had something wrong, whether it's a swimmer or a water polo player. I'm like, dude, all kinds of stuff can happen. You're just as good as him. And if I can make those kids believe that, man, I just watch them get better, and they get better. And
so your satisfaction is for seeing others.
Oh yeah, now for me that's the championship.
Yeah.
I'm working with some swimmers, and they're trying to cut 3 seconds, and 3 seconds is pretty big. And I swam at UH. I got a scholarship to swim, So I
What
understand
didn't you
about
do?
swimming. Everything I'm junk at, I didn't do. So I started golf. I didn't like it. I was junk. I quit.
I dunked this game. I dunked at his game.
Yeah. I did tennis. Junk. But that's because I was junk at it. That's what I tell everybody.
The things you're good at. You're like, that's a sport.
Yeah.
That's a sport.
Yeah, that's a real sport.
Hey,
Oh man,
I'm on your side.
can you imagine golfing at 220 heart rate? Trying to get pumped up.
Well, I coach golfers, and I find out from them, like, how do they golf the best? Do you golf when everything's traveling fast, or you need your time? You need 10 like practice strokes before you hit the ball. And according to that, I try to have them maneuver the games, even in their fun games. So like this one girl I was coaching, she liked to go fast. So I told her that then what you do is you try to push the game. And like we talked about how you can speed up the game of golf. And then she's not that the girl's professional, but the little bit lower, she actually qualified for it. And she was late. She was golfing at 30 something. She golfed college and then she kept golfing, and she was a nurse here in Hawaii. And then I wrote my book, and then she asked me and the reason why she came to train with me is she read my book. And she was like, do you truly believe that I can be a professional women's golfer? And I said, well, how good are you right now? And she won the Manoa Cup, which is a big deal. And she beats mostly all the men in Hawaii. But she never like gave it everything she's got.
Yeah.
And her dad was a PGA golfer. So I was like, it's in your bloodline. I said, what is your dream in life? She goes, I want to be a professional golfer. I said, then you're going to have to quit your job, live in your car, or whatever it takes, and you got to go for it. But everything you do got to be set up for golf. And she freaking went and did it. And like
Until this day, she lives in her car.
No. She's doing good now. Yeah. But she went back to California and she freaking chased her dream.
That's so brilliant, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's very out of the box thinking to speed up the tempo of the game.
Yeah.
To offset your opponent's
Yeah.
tempo. Like for golf, it's like you don't even think like that.
Yeah.
It's next level.
Yeah.
Are you good at chess?
I used to be good at chess. I haven't played it that much, but same thing with chess. Come on here, like flip that thing right away, like.
You seem like a smart strategist.
Yeah, and then even like I coach golfers that like the game slow. So we talk about how do you slow the game down, and so that's what they do when they go against golfers that want to speed it up. But that all comes from racquetball, because racquetball is all about tempo. So if I can get the thing to be like this, I'm gonna win.
Yeah.
The other guys are trying to get me to slow down. So the guys who would beat me were the guys who were able to slow me down, and they started controlling the pace, and then it starts taking me out of my tempo.
Makes
It takes me
sense.
out of my rhythm.
Like that
Same
old man.
thing. Yep.
Yeah, that old man your mom sent to you.
Exactly.
Probably your mom at the time.
Yep.
Just
And that works in every sport.
wow.
I did jiu-jitsu. A guy who's super fast. I'm like, I don't know if I can keep up with this guy's speed, because in absolute, I'm fighting a smaller guy, and he's fast, and he can move fast for a long time. I'll slow him down. Slow him down, slow him down, slow him down, and then they make their mistakes. A guy who likes to play slow, I speed it up. I fought Renzo. He likes fast, but I knew I could go faster, so I took the thing to the higher level. I knew Renzo. I knew my takedowns were better than Renzo. So if you watch that match, I take him down like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
I take him down, I back out. Take him down, back out. And then I don't take him down all right away. I just slowly do it. Like, I'll play his game for a little while and then speed up the tempo, then slow it back down again. But I know what the tempo is, because I'm predicting, well, not predicting, but I'm setting up my tempo. If you're just reacting to what my tempo is, you can't beat me, because you have a tempo. Everybody has a tempo of what they do. And I learned that like when I was studying Zen. This Zen master, we had the best Zen master in the world, this Tanoi sensei. He was in Kalihi Valley. There's a Zen temple, but he was the #1 in the world at the time. And I don't know how I got so lucky, but I'd go up there every morning, 5 o'clock. We'd do the breathing, Zazen breathing for 1 hour. And then right after that, he'd train me in Kendo. And then after our Kendo training, he'd talk about tempo and how all the samurais have this tempo. And every samurai is so good at the tempo that they can see patterns in everything, and like doesn't matter. They could even see tempo in the rain. So one day this guy, there's a sheet of rain coming off the roof. You know, like if it's pouring rain, it's like you just see water like this, and you see bits and pieces of there's no rain, but it's like a sheet of water. He got his sword and he goes, "Can you swing the sword through the water and not get it wet?" And I was like, "Yeah, I freaking swing it fast, right?" Whoop. He looks at it. He brings a blade. He goes, all wet. Try again. And so I did it a bunch of times, and I was like, it's not possible. It can't not get wet. You swing in a blade through water. And then all of a sudden, I watch him put the sword right through, and you don't see any water splashing off the blade.
Oh.
And then he brings it back, and he shows me the blade, and it's not wet at all. I was like, see that again? He did it again. But before he does it, he's like breathing, and you can see his eyes look like it goes somewhere else. And I'm watching him, and he's breathing and breathing and breathing, and he's not swinging it fast. It's just like this tempo. And he said that's what every samurai has, is because of the breathing, and you controlling your tempo. You can see patterns in everything in the world. I never got to that point, but I thought about that and everything else that I did. And I don't know. I almost feel like if I was an expert at that, you can pick out so many things. But just a little bit that I knew from that affected everything that I do in life. So it's amazing, like crazy.
I think in general, all our viewers or listeners, that listen to you and your story, they, whoever's a practitioner can relate, because a lot of times when we do face jiu-jitsu guys, at least, it's the one thing I can talk about, and they go fast. If I try to match his tempo, I'm gonna get caught.
yeah, right.
But if I'm not gonna play into his game and I'm gonna take it down a notch and I'm gonna play my game, then he will get caught because he doesn't know how to play my game, and I don't know how to play his game.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a kind of athlete gonna run around doing Toriano, going side to side. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I totally understand, and now it's in my mind. It's totally, I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it. Exactly what you're talking about. Each one has their tempo. Yeah. It is up to you to determine your tempo versus their tempo, and where you feel comfortable if you want to win that.
Exactly.
Match.
Yeah.
I can totally see it.
And like the most guys that play jiu-jitsu with me, they realize right away, like I mix up judo with wrestling for the stand-up part, and I'll go back and forth. And so you really don't know which way I'm gonna play. Like, am I gonna shoot or am I gonna play collar? Like, am I gonna shuck you? Or I'm gonna,
Are you doing a lot of gi nowadays or no gi?
Nowadays I don't do that much. I had like double knee replacements like 14 months ago, so I had bilaterals. Whoa. So ever since then I haven't been. And going up to about a year before it, I couldn't bend my knees.
What?
So I
and now you're doing foiling, which is only
it's coming back, but
good knees you got there.
I can't sit on my butt. Like I can't get my butt on my heels yet. I'm about this far away. So it's gonna get there. I'm gonna get it there so I can get back to jiu-jitsu.
So wait, so you had a knee surgery, both knees?
Both knees I took out. Like I got brand new. I got bionic knees. I don't even have real knees anymore.
How long did it take you to go foiling?
2 months.
Oh 2 months after the surgery, you were foiling?
Yeah, but not like how I was now. I mean, I used the bigger board, and it wasn't the same. I was just foiling, like.
Yeah.
Jeez. So. A little bit of motor oil.
Yeah, that's what it's like, motor oil.
WD-40 on the knees.
Yeah.
But every time I see that foiling, I'm like, just looking at you guys, I'm getting tired. You know what I'm talking about?
Intense. Yeah, exactly. I always see it, I'm like, I'm
tired already.
Yeah, that's. Unless you get, there's some with the remote, right?
I got the electric one.
Yeah, let me grab one of those.
Even that one's a good workout,
Really?
Because just to keep the board at that right heights, it takes balance, and your knees got to be bent. When you turn, you're pushing down. Because you can't let the board breach. Because if that foil comes out of the water, it takes you like a tomahawk throw, and you slam your head in the water like you got punched in the head. Like it's unreal. Like it's so fast that you got to make sure that you got to know what your pitch is. That pitch is so key.
It's crazy to think that someone came up with this. sport, foiling, and it just blew up, and people are doing it.
Yeah.
Now, I thought it's a new thing. I thought it's like 4 or 5 years, but I guess it's like 15 years. It just the last 5 years is a better version of the actual foiling.
Yeah.
But people used to do it like, I guess, before, 10 years ago.
Yeah, with ski boots on. Like, how do you swim, man? Like, because sometimes after I, like, say, I've done where I've connected 10 waves in a row, I'm so out of gas and my legs are so pumped up with lactic acid, I jump off the board and I'm drowning. Like, I can barely hold on to my board, and I think I'm going to drown. So, I mean, if I had ski boots on, I would drown.
Yeah, guarantee. Guarantee.
Yeah,
How did they do that? I don't know.
I don't know how they did it. Laird Hamilton, man. I don't know, man.
But it's a crazy sport. Just the fact that you can catch a wave, go back up to the to the peak, go again and again and again. It's like, fuck those guys. I got to paddle.
Yeah.
They're like the gods of the water. They love everything. They're not even on it.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. It's crazy.
And that's what you do every day.
That's what I do every day.
But you know what? I have to ask you a personal question. Doing that every day and starting your day off at 4 a.m., at 7 being already in the ocean, do you miss being at home with the kids, sending them up to school, dropping them off at school? Because I can tell you about myself. For me, I had a certain routine, not as crazy as yours, but I had a morning routine. But by the time my kids started to go to 2 different schools, and my wife had to drop off both of them, and then she get mad, and she's like, there's bad energy in the morning, and she's like, you're not ready, and you're not ready. I realized that I have to give up my morning routine.
Yeah.
I have to dedicate my time to the kids and be there and take her to school and be a part of her day. Which, by the way, reminds me, today we were listening to 93.1 Steezy show, and my daughter asked me, can you please text? So I said, Lay from Mid-Pack.
Oh snap, the singer!
Yeah.
Taylor Swift!
She will be a singer. And then Steezy says on the radio, if she wants to be a singer, she should call and sing. I'm like, oh shit. And then my daughter calls, and again and again and again and again and again. And I'm like, babe, we're already at Mid-Pack, like, fuck, let's give it up. And he said, one more time. She calls, and fucking Steezy answers. And she's on live radio.
No, she did good. She did good. I mean, interesting, though, because it's a Taylor Swift song, right? So they're like, open up the bar, or leaving on the bar. And we're like, wait, how old are you leaving the bar?
Yeah. I told my wife we were cracking up. From all the songs of Taylor Swift, she chose that one. Drunk leaving the bar. I'm like, what the fuck? I can't tell Steezy's my daughter.
That's funny.
She did good. She did really good.
But you guys made her so happy. She went to school ecstatic. I never saw her so stoked to start a day. She just wanted to tell everybody she was live on the radio singing Taylor Swift. But yeah, those moments. If before I didn't appreciate that, because I appreciated my own growth and I appreciated my own, better version of myself. Now I appreciate a better version of myself with the kids. Because I can work out later. It usually doesn't. It's not the same intensity. It's not the same time. It's not the same focus when you're by yourself and it's quiet and it's just you. But like, I don't know. I feel like I'm giving up a lot by not being with the family in the morning.
Yeah. No, I see that. I mean, usually I give it up when my wife has something to do. But she does that. She does all the drop-offs. I do all the pickups. So I pick up the kids after school all the time. Okay. And then I usually spend the rest of the evening while she's still working. I'll take them to their sports. I'll practice with them. I'll do all of that kind of stuff with them.
Okay.
Nice.
So that's where my time is with the kids. And for her, she can't really do the sports stuff. So
yeah, you kind of got a nice little stronghold or a nice little grasp on physical activity.
Yeah, I got a little bit of knowledge of that. So, yeah. And it's just the mind part, like how do you play your own kids? Because we grew up as a kids. We're not gonna listen to our parents. They can tell us 100 times, and then some coach tells you that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's what I gotta do, right?"
And then they come tell you,
and they come and tell you, and you're like, "Oh." Frick. So like my son, he started baseball late. So he didn't do t-ball. He didn't do the next one. He didn't do coach's pitch. He started, and I was hoping he never played baseball because that takes up so much time. Baseball,
Totally.
like this past weekend, every single day was a baseball game for the whole President's Day weekend, right? So I was hoping he never played baseball, but I played baseball, so I just had a feeling he was going to, because somehow, nature versus nurture. Nature has something weird. Like, I want to play baseball. I'm like, oh, well, that's okay. He's 3 years behind everybody. He's gonna hate it because you got the other kids pitching now, and you're gonna get beamed, and he's not gonna like it. Oh, nothing doing, man. This kid just. And so then I was like, okay, we gotta play catch up. So I started like. Made the routine, started putting down the baselines, and this is how we're gonna do it, Jet. Started working, and then he started resisting, and then I could feel he's like not liking it. So I was like, oh frick, and then all of a sudden the progress started slowing down, right? And then our relationship started getting a little bit weird. So I was like, okay, and it's so hard for me because I want him to be good so bad.
Yes.
But then my wife goes, do you want him to be like, you want to be one of those parents that you got the dream for your kid, but your kid don't really want it? And then I was like, oh, frick. Wow. That's so irritating when I'm at jiu-jitsu tournaments and the parents are going nuts. And they don't even know jiu-jitsu. They barely know jiu-jitsu. They're a white belt and they're freaking yelling at the kid. And they're not even yelling techniques like, use your right hand, put it on the lapel. They're going, go, you got to go harder. Go faster. Stop now. I'm going, bro, what kind of coaching is that? And I see some coaches even coaching the kids like that. I'm going, like, right? So I'm like, okay, I cannot be that parent. So I'm going to just let him go. So I sit my son down and I go, Jet, if you know what it takes to get good, Daddy showed you. So anytime Daddy, you want Daddy's help, I'm here. But this is the deal. Whether you become great or you're not good or you hate it or you love it, I love you no matter what. And that was hard for me to say because my parents never told me they loved me. So like for me, it's like I'm trying to break this cycle, like because it's hard for me. And even to give praise, it's like, oh, it's like pulling teeth, like, because I was always pointed out all the bad things. Like, so when I played baseball, I'd pitch a shutout, bat 2 for 3, 2 hits. The third time at bat, I struck out. All they talked about, you freaking banana, you struck out. How the frick can you strike out? How you missed the damn ball? You had 3 chances to hit the ball, and you couldn't put the bat on the ball. I'm like, oh, but I just pitched a shutout. I had 2 good hits. I had 3 RBIs, 1 strikeout? Then I play basketball, score 33 points in a game. But I missed 2 free throws. So only time in the game you can shoot, no one's trying to block it, and you missed the damn thing. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, but I made 4 free throws. Yeah, but you missed 2. It's like, oh.
Looking at the half glass empty.
Yeah, and that's how I was raised. So my thinking, I don't know any other way to think.
You think that's why you're so competitive and
I think, yeah. And so you're asking me that at the beginning, and I think that's where the focus came from because I didn't want to hear it from and it was my grandfather and my dad. So I was getting double teamed.
2 generations.
Two generations coming after me, right? Jeez. So I was like, I'm gonna freaking practice so I don't have to hear this shit because I don't need this shit. I don't want them to be able to say anything to me. So that's where I started. It was a baseball and basketball where I'm like, I'm gonna shoot every day. I'm gonna freaking get good. I'm gonna never miss a shot. But that's not possible. It's not possible.
Yeah.
And
my dream was to have my daughters surf because I never had the liberty of living close to the beach and being able to surf every day. But I think I pushed them so much and I put so much pressure on them. In the beginning, they were like, during COVID, we went every day. They were surfing and standing and woo! But the moment I started to teach them like how to get better, how to take a turn, how to take this, they hated it. Yeah. They hated me for trying to tell them how to do. Yeah. I kind of ruined their happiness on the board. Until this day, I regretted it. They never went back to surfing. Yeah. They're doing boogie, but they don't want to stand on the surfboard. Yeah. I'm like, Such a missed opportunity. But my wife says maybe one day they're going to get back
Yeah.
to it. You know, once they see all the other friends are surfing, you know, maybe they'll get back to it.
Yeah.
But I totally see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's such a double-edged sword because you
Yeah.
want them to succeed. You want them to be the best, and you want to
Yeah.
teach them from everything
Yeah.
you've learned.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they just want to listen to the friend or to the other guy.
Yeah.
Everybody, just not you.
Yeah.
Everybody, just not the father.
Yeah. And that, you know, it's true, but you play it right. Now my son's like, Dad, help me with my basketball. I need to be able to do this. Dad, I need my batting's not good enough. And like I always go, Jet, your batting's good. You hit that. You hit good this weekend. Oh no, I gotta hit the ball more solid. I got this and that. I'm like, okay, what are we gonna do? He goes, I don't know. You tell me what to do. So okay, let's go. And so like, we set up a routine. He wants to become faster now. And I used to always tell him, if you can hit in baseball and you're fast, they're gonna find a position for you. And sure enough, you know, that's what he wants. But he's a catcher. And originally, I made him catch. And I kind of pushed him toward catching. And my thing was because when he was batting, he was super afraid of the ball, like almost every kid. So what happened was they made me catch because I was afraid of the ball when I was playing baseball. And then by catching, you like lose all fear because you basically block the ball.
Yeah.
You gotta block every ball, right? And so through that, he's learned not to be afraid of the ball. But he's also got a position that most kids don't want to play. So he's had so much opportunities, like traveling team, making all-stars after 2 years of playing baseball, and he never played before.
Wow.
Beating all the other kids out. But speed and being able to hit and like those things stuck in his head, and he, you know, that's his thing.
And he's 11.
He's 11.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I feel like I almost blew it. Like
But you had
this
a comeback.
close. And then I had a comeback, right? I have to be patient, which is my weakness. You know, that's my weakness, patience. That's always how I screwed up, and that's how I would lose in fights. I would lose in jiu-jitsu. I'd lose in racketball because I got impatient. Yes. And that's like
Story of my life.
It's easy to do that
Yeah.
at 220 beats per minute.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah. No need patience at 220.
yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. But when they slow me down, that's when I make the mistakes.
Shit. And you also have another amazing daughter. That's how I know you, from Tegan, who is
Yeah.
an amazing musician who plays the ukulele like a star. And she's actually performing around the world. She's huge in Japan. I know they have a duo, Tegan and
Kaylin.
Kaylin.
Yeah.
They have a duo on ukuleles, and they're huge, blowing up in Japan. The people love them. Shout out to their manager Keiko,
Yeah, Keiko.
who I had an event called the Keiki-Cella, where we do like a Coachella but for keikis.
Oh,
And we bring a lot of young artists from Hawaii to perform, and one of the performers was Tegan and her friend on ukulele, and they performed, and they had an amazing performance. Everybody was going nuts, and a few months later I see her down my street with Egan, and I'm like, what do you do with this guy? He's like, it's my dad. I'm like, nah, that's your dad. So yeah, amazing musician. And you said that you mentioned now she's in Thailand.
Yeah, she's in Thailand in a show called Chuan Asia. It's a reality show where they have 70 singers, and they're gonna cut it down to 9, and they're making cuts.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's there right now, and she can't really communicate. They took away her phone, everything, and they give her a phone that she can use every so many days, and she can text or whatever. But they're trying to keep it top secret as as the shows go on. Wow. But I tell you what, these Chinese, they're smart. You know, like American Idol, you can vote, right?
Yeah.
You can vote for everything too, but you can also pay money to vote more.
Oh.
Yeah.
Capitalism at its
Oh
best.
man.
Oh, nobody.
I was like, oh, these Chinese are smart.
The
Man.
next level, bro.
Oh, next level is right.
That's where it's at. But hey, she's talented. Doesn't matter if she's gonna
Yeah,
make it or
yeah.
not. I mean, after watching her performing, and she has a love for it. You know, when I see a
Yeah.
musician that has love for what
Yeah.
they do, that enjoy just creating music and enjoy people enjoying what they created,
Yeah.
this is something symbiotic that happening between a musician and the crowd that is it's priceless.
Yeah, it's magic. And
Yeah.
she has an older sister that's in LA doing kind of the same thing. She's trying to be a professional singer. I mean, she's cutting albums and songs, and
Oh wow.
so, and they're completely different.
Wow.
So like in my head, my dream is like they do a duo together. And the older one in LA can play the piano and sing. Tegan is ukulele guitar. And so the two together, and they've done some performances locally, like in small bars or whatever. And like, I sit there, I'm like, oh, they got to be together. But I don't know. They kind of went their separate paths. And you know what? Like for me, it's like, I chased my dream.
Yeah.
And I always told them, I said, you know what? Chase your dream. And I know making it in the music industry, the percentage is so small, right? But I told them, when you're young, go for it.
Yeah.
If you don't make it, you can live the rest of your life thinking, hey, I went for it, I didn't make it, I wasn't good enough. I can live with that,
Yeah.
right? But if you live with the what if, you can't. And that's why, like, when I chase racquetball, chase my dream.
Yeah.
Gave up school. My parents hated me. My grandparents hated me because their dream was for me to go to University of Hawaii, play baseball, travel with the traveling University of Hawaii team, and I ended up becoming a doctor or dentist. That was the dream. And I freaking ruined it for them all.
So if you had to tell our audience and our listeners one thing to pursue is to listen to their heart while they're young.
Yep. And while you're young is
follow
when.
the dreams.
Yep. Follow the dream, man. Follow your dream. I tell everyone, because you only got one chance. It's when you're young. Because you can always make up. You can always go back to school. You can always get a job. You can always make a career. But you can't start all of that and then try to give that up. You can't start a career and go, you know what? My dream was always to be this. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to give this up. It's hard. It's way harder.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that when I went back to school 10 years later, that was not easy. What
What'd you go back to school for?
I wanted to be a pharmaceutical rep.
Oh,
So I needed a degree.
you was trying to drug deal.
Drug deal. I wanted to be a legal drug dealer.
Legal
Legal
license.
drug dealer. Yep. So I wanted to go back to school. I didn't want to pay for school. And it just happened when I was fighting. A lot of my training was in the water. Like I like to do what they call hypoxic drills, where I limit the amount of oxygen in my blood. So I learned how to, like, it goes along with being able to fight at 220 beats per minute. I'm also making myself, by doing hypoxic workouts, make my body real proficient with low oxygen levels.
Wow.
So that was my thing in the pool. And then while I was doing my workouts, one of the swimmers that was scholarship from Oregon, hey, tough guy, you want to race me? I was like, fuck, I race anybody. I don't care. Shoot, let's go. He goes, let's do a kickboard breaststroke kick. I was like, all right. So we raced. I beat him. I'm like, oh, frick, I'm kind of fast. And then the coach goes, oh, did you just beat him? I was like, yeah, I think so. He goes, I want to see with the real stroke. So I was like, all right. He goes, you up for another race? I go, yeah, sure. I beat the guy. So he goes, hey, you want to swim for University of Hawaii? I was like, for real? He goes, I'll give you a scholarship. And that year was the year that they had the qualifying for the Olympics. So all the best sprinters in the world was in Hawaii, like all the Stanford swimmers and everybody.
Cool.
And I was up there with the best with breaststroke. But I only could swim 50 meters. Like after 50 meters, I slow down so bad. My body just starts locking up. Like the lactic acid threshold was horrible. And my strokes are ugly, but I was fast. And so the coach would always go, man, your strokes are so ugly. I wish I had time with you. I could make you so much faster. But you can endure pain more than all these other guys. I need you on the team. So they would use me for short relay. 25 meters, I was super fast. 50 meters, I was just about slowing down. But that's what got me back in school. And then I already had done 2 years at University of Hawaii, so I only needed 2 more years. So I swam and I got free schooling and then got my degree finally and then became a pharmaceutical rep. But I only swam for 1 year because, man, that was so brutal. Swimming is the worst. And I was still fighting. So I was swimming and still doing my MMA workouts.
That
So-
is insane.
But, you got to make it.
But talking about pharmaceuticals, did you ever take any supplements? Did they make you do anything for ADCC and stuff like that?
No, you do whatever you do, you know, and I've always been big on supplements. I mean, since I was 16 when I started playing racquetball, there was this place in Mundal Marketplace, and the guy's name was Mitz, and he was like, you know, New Arnold and all of that kind of stuff. And my dad took me over there one day, and he told the guy Mitz, he goes, "Hey, my son wants to be a professional racquetball player. I think he needs vitamins." And he goes, "Oh yeah, okay." And then it was like, back then it was $100 for a month of vitamins. And I knew my parents didn't have that much money, right? So I was kind of like, ooh. And then the guy Mitz pulls me on the side. He goes, "Your dad's paying big bucks for this. So you know what that means? You got to eat right. You got to sleep right. I'll help you with your diet." So I was like, all right. So he wrote out, like, you got to have this much protein and you got to have this much carbohydrates. And I didn't know what the hell was, but okay, I'm going to do it. What kind of foods is carbohydrates? What kind of foods is protein? Okay. So I started doing it. And the whole time in my head, I could hear him saying, you got to train right. You got to sleep right. You got to eat right. If not, you're wasting your dad's money. And like, that was heavy on me. You know, so I was like, oof. And I think since that day, I never stopped training. I never stopped researching training. I never stopped researching supplements. I never stopped learning about fitness. And fitness just keeps evolving. Because it was high carbs. And then all these fad diets. And then I started learning, like, fad diets are the worst thing that you can possibly do. There's something in every little thing, but fad diets are so bad that if you drop weight right away, it's the worst thing that can happen, right? And then I also learned that when you get out of shape, to get back into shape is hard. So my whole thing was like, I like having abs, right? So I don't know, at some point in my career, I lost my abs. And then one day I was like, I need my abs back. Oh, frick, was so hard. To maintain is it not as hard as to develop it. Yeah. So I always tell people, and through my fighting career, I always had my fighters stay within 10 pounds of their fighting weight. You guys got to train all year long. Not like a lot of these fighters, they wait, they get out of shape, they get heavy, and then 3 months before the fight, they start training hard. And like most fighters do that.
Yeah.
But when I was fighting and I had grappling limited, none of my fighters would do that. I'd keep them in shape all year long, because your opportunity is going to come to be in UFC, but someone's going to get hurt a week out. And they're going to call, "Hey, Egan, you got someone?" Like, that's how Nico got in, and Nico fought Matt Lindland and then beat Matt Lindland. Yeah. Because he was in shape. He had to drop some weight, and I had to sit in the sauna with Nico, but that was his call right there. That's how he got the Cabbage, same thing.
Max too, I believe, right?
Max too, yeah.
Yeah, he got the call.
Yep. You get the call, you got to be able to fight. You got to go. But if you need 3 months to train, you're not going to make it.
Did you ever had your experience with steroids?
No, I never did do steroids. The only thing I did was GH. And the reason I did GH was it was during racquetball, actually. One of the orthopedic surgeons in California told me that you got a torn meniscus, you're going to have to repair it. I'm like, oh, frick, my career is over. And he goes, "Oh, no, it's nothing. Like, got this thing called growth hormones. And if you use this 2 weeks before the surgery, you work out like crazy. And then 2 weeks after you stay on it, you'll be back on the court like this." So I was like, may as well try. So I did it. And 1 week after the surgery, I was freaking on the plane at full bore. Like nothing. So I had 3 knee surgeries in the racquetball career. And all 3 times I did G's. And all 3 times I was back like that.
Wow.
Like, I mean, I was young too, but I was back so fast.
What about TRT?
TRT, I'm 58 right now. My testosterone level is high enough to where I don't need TRT. But I truly believe that once you use TRT, it's over, because you're putting testosterone into your body, which is going to make your body not produce testosterone. So for me, it's like I do everything I can that's going to make my testosterone levels create it by itself. So heavier lifting creates that. Exercise creates that. There's some supplements that help your body produce more testosterone, not the kind of stuff that gives you more testosterone.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people make that mistake. They want testosterone so bad. So like there was a point where my testosterone was down to 325. And I could tell, because I was like freaking tired. I was like, it was all in my head. That is only mindset that got me training. Like I was dying, but I was just still training. I was still pushing. And a lot of athletes, when you train really hard, your testosterone level drops as you get older, like automatically. And so I started researching stuff, and there's different herbs and stuff that you can take that makes your body keep creating more testosterone. And then there's exercises that you can do to make your body, help your body create more testosterone. So I think I found this really good supplement, and I got to meet the guy who created it, and he's this mad scientist guy. And so I got to meet him, and he's got this thing it was called Testosterone at the beginning. And he changed the name because then people started thinking it's like taking testosterone, but it wasn't at all. And then within 3 months, and like a lot of my clients, same thing, low testosterone, they want to do TRT. I go, wait, try this thing first, and then do your blood work in 3 months. And almost every single person, same thing, just like me, 300 to 700 within 3 months.
Wow.
And at 700, you cannot get TRT. If a doctor gives you TRT, they can lose their license. So I'm still in that range. And this guy's, one of my clients is 64 years old. Same thing. He was down at 300, like super tired, kind of getting belly fat a little bit. I put him on that supplement. Last week, he did blood work because he's feeling better, looking better. Did his blood work, 750.
Well, what's the supplement? Let me.
It's by this thing called Prestige. I'll text you the thing, and
text
then
me that.
there's a link that I can get you guys a discount too.
Brad,
So
can we clip this, Brad?
yeah, yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, everybody. I haven't had one person take it, and so I've convinced a lot of people not to do TRT just through this. It just takes a little longer than TRT.
Yeah. I mean, by the end of the day, you need to work out.
Yeah, you got to work out.
You got to work out. Also for bone density.
Yep.
Also for your own health.
Yep.
For mental health.
Yep.
For just pushing it.
Oh,
you know. You got to work out.
Yeah.
You got to work out.
Yeah.
But, sometimes we as humans always look for the easy route.
The magic pill. Yeah.
And once we hear about TRT, we're like, oh.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, Vitor Belfort was taking it. Why wouldn't I, try?
Yep.
But then I'm always thinking about, they say, once you start taking it, then your body's not producing it, and then you cannot get a boner. And I'm like, this is where you lost me. No boner.
Yeah.
No boner, no bueno. This is where I'm.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm tap out. Yeah, not for me. Not for me.
Totally. That's like a really touchy area because in the fight world and in professional athletes, jiu-jitsu guys especially too, a lot of them are juicing.
Yeah.
But what I learned from it is the bigger your muscle looks, the more lactic acid you can produce. Right? And if you're training for a sport and you're trying to get the pump, you know how all the bodybuilders, they're looking for that pump? That's the worst thing. I mean, if your grip, your forearms start pumping up, you cannot hold anyone anymore. In MMA, you cannot punch. Look at all the fighters. None of them look like they're jacked. They used to be.
Yeah.
Right? But then that's all changed. I mean, they're doing drug testing now, but still yet.
Yeah, now you're just doing for the nightclub, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, tighten the shirt. Okay.
The nightclub.
Let's go. All my friends used to do that. They used to love the pump right before we go. Like, they'll go. The lights little workout, short one. Yeah.
Just for the veins.
Just so you walk in.
And it's funny because a lot of guys always accuse me of steroids, like through all my whole career. But then now, I take off my shirt and you look at me now, almost the exact same. I'm the same weight as I was competing. I can get to 181 if I want, and then be super ripped. But I'm walking around at 190. Yeah. And in my fighting career, I was lifting more. Because I could recover more. Now I don't lift as much because I don't recover, and it affects my foil boarding. So, right? So I walk around at about 190, and back then I was walking around about 194. And then when I would cut weight, then I'd put the weight back on during the fight. Then I'd be 200.
Whoa!
So
you would cut down to 180 weight, and then
when I pump the food back in and the carbs, I'm at 200. So I always look pretty big.
Those shoulders are coming up.
Yeah,
I remember that, bro. I remember it so clearly.
Yeah.
Especially that Superman punch.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this guy's not real.
But then people would see me on the street and be like, oh, you're not as big as you look in the ring. And it's like, is true because the lights and you're higher up, and then I got a shirt on. I take off my shirt. Oh, frick! Oh,
Okay.
yeah, that's the guy.
That's like,
But honestly, even when every time I see you on your Instagram and I see you with no shirt, I'm like, fuck, is ripped. Like, you doing something right.
Yeah.
I don't care what they say.
Yeah.
Waking up at 4 a.m., doing your shake, and then starting your routines and doing whatever you're doing. You're doing something right. And also, when I look in your face, yes, you're Japanese, but look at you. You look like you're what? You look like you're 38 years old.
Oh, man,
I have
you
way
guys
more
are 30s,
wrinkles than this guy. Freak. Bro,
You guys are so nice.
no, for real. I mean,
Yeah.
you must be doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping I am. I'm trying to lead by example. I mean, I've studied it since I was 16 years old. I mean, I've been, I trained at the Olympic Training Center 2 summers. I lived there and trained with the best coaches and other athletes.
And I guess also owning a gym. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, if I always believe I'm gonna own a gym, I better be in shape. Right? I mean, it makes me nuts though. I mean, I don't know. I've always been if I can't do it, I ain't gonna teach it. I don't feel like anyone should. And you get all these guys coaching people and they can't even do it, right? And it's it makes me crazy.
yeah.
I see bodybuilders trying to train athletes. Dude, you're a bodybuilder. You're not an athlete. I mean, there's some guys some football players that were great athletes that turned bodybuilder. That's a whole different animal. But if you're just a bodybuilder, and you think you know about fitness, and if you look it up, bodybuilders that have the worst fitness, and they're the worst in shape, and their diets are the worst for your human body. They're the most unhealthy of all.
Which comes back to the lactic acid and all that,
Yeah.
which is
So I see a lot of these bodybuilders, because you would think plenty of muscles, he can train my kid because my kid wants to be an athlete. He can make him strong. But there's a difference between an arm curl like this and then using your bicep in a real situation, tying it in with your whole body and making that all work together, right? So it kind of makes me a little bit nuts. You can't do a pull-up, but you can teach someone how to do a pull-up. That's not possible.
yeah.
And even sometimes for MMA, I watch some of the coaches. I couldn't tell, you're a jiu-jitsu guy. You know what it feels like when someone's got you in a choke, and you know how to escape it because you know what it feels like. So you know what that guy is going through, so you know how he's thinking. If you've never been in that situation, how are you going to tell someone how to get out of that?
no can.
I don't think, I don't think so. You get punched in the face. Yeah. You don't know what it feels like to get punched in the face. How are you going to tell your fighter how to react after that? Because that's a whole different thing. Like Tyson says, right? Oh, you got all these plans and everything until you get punched in the face, and all of a sudden, maybe you don't want that plan anymore. Yeah. Right? And so I feel like there's so many instances where guys are kids' fitness right now for getting them better in sports, huge. Parents will spend anything on the kids. So guys who are non-athletes are trying to build these sports programs from what they read in a book. Yeah. So I feel like swimming it's a painful sport, and I would never know how painful it was if I didn't do it. So when I coach swimmers, I can come from that reference as I know what it's like when you get close to the finish line. The pain is so bad, but if we can build your threshold of pain, and I know how to build it because I know how to reduplicate that pain, I can make you good. I can make you fast, and I don't even need to work on your strokes. That's for your swim coach. Ooh. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thinking I do with all the different sports guys that I train.
So you do a lot of strength and conditioning.
I do a lot of strength conditioning. I do a lot of plyo stuff. I do a lot of things where you tie in everything with your body. Because every sport, you cannot be limb strong. Your whole body got to be strong. And the more even your body is, I always tell the kids, when they do single leg squats and one leg's way weaker, how fast do you think you can run if one side is slower than the other? Are you going to be as fast as your slow side? Makes sense.
Makes sense.
So if I can get your weak side to catch up with your strong side, you're going to get faster. This is how it is. I get you more coordinated.
Where can I sign up? I think I need it in my life.
So even my boot camp stuff that I train, I do a lot of single leg stuff, a lot of balancing stuff with doing exercises. So you're creating the exercise. I'm creating confusion, sort of, But then you got to balance, because that's the hard thing. You know, and in our kids program, we do this one game is Tic-Tac-Toe. And there's strategy in Tic-Tac-Toe, right? But you got one team here, one team here. And they're sprinting as fast as they can. So their pickup speed's got to be quick. And then they got to stop. And then they got to put down their piece in whatever. Then they got to run back, tag their partner. And then he has to come. He's got to think after being in a sprint. I mean, this is the most fun game that I've ever watched the kids play. Wow. And you got these two mentalities, right? So the other team has one more hole, right? You put it, if the other team puts it here, they win. But then your team has the same thing. So I can tell how the kids are thinking, because they're thinking either defense or they're thinking offense. Yeah. So sometimes the kids run up there, all they got to do is put it in this one spot and their team wins. But they go and put it to block. Ooh. And then as they're running away, they're like, oh, crap. Right? And I feel like that's something like that's missing in sports for the kids. They don't do enough things that get them rattled up, but you got to think.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, no matter what sport you play, you're going to be rattled and you got to think. Especially in a team sport, basketball, baseball, football, volleyball. You got to be able to think. And even swimming, even if you're not competing, it's in your head. It's all in your head. It's how much can you endure?
It's actually crazy that you mentioned swimming, because I always thought that swimming is for like, whatever. He's not really an athlete, whatever, swimmer. But then you talk to a real swimmer, what he has to endure, the pain, the training, the days in the pool.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And then also watching the movie Waterman and seeing how Duka Hanamoku was training and doing it, and then going over there and training for the Olympics. You're like, oh, that's a real sport. Like, people are like paying attention to every stroke and to the seconds. A millisecond can make like so much difference.
1/100 of a second.
Yeah,
is the difference with a winner
and loser. I guess it comes with age to appreciate swimming to the fullest.
Yeah.
When I was young, I'm like, whatever. But now,
you know what? Though, you're right in a certain place. I saw this research study, and they said that swimmers are actually the most uncoordinated of all athletes. So eye-hand coordination, they don't have. Almost all of them don't have. Of course, you got Phelps.
Yeah.
He's a phenom.
Yeah.
Phenoms you can't put in the category as the swimmer. He's the best of all time. Of course he can golf, right? But in general, they say that most swimmers are not good athletes in the sense of coordination-wise. But if you talk about swimming, that's a sport. They're an athlete, right? And they say runners are the same thing. Because they say everyone can learn how to swim. Everybody can learn how to run, right? But not everybody can play baseball. Not everybody can play basketball. Not everybody can play football. So that's how this study was calculated. So I'm not making this up, and I'm not saying that because that's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make that sure, because I freaking Egan, I freaking talking to swimmers, and they talking to runners. I'm not doing that. I just want to make sure.
No, we know. You bring the stats.
Yeah,
you bring
exactly.
The stats.
I'm speaking of studies. I recite studies, because that's all I do is I read studies.
That's insane. So you've gone through all these different sports, and the very foundation is just being a great athlete. Just period.
Yeah, I feel like all the different sports, and everyone's going, how do you switch from one sport to the next sport to the next sport? I mean, jiu-jitsu to fighting, pretty close, but still there's striking and there's wrestling and there's takedowns, right? But racquetball to jiu-jitsu, how's that, right? But the foundation of the mindset is the key. The strategy of how you're going to get good is also the same thing, right? And there's basics of every sport that's exactly the same. Like, no matter what sport you play, you need core strength. I don't care what. Even if it's a swimmer, you need core strength.
Just be one hammer.
You just gotta be a hammer, yeah.
But also, I feel like somehow, and again, it goes into race. I feel like Japanese people have way more dedication to perfection of their art, and I feel like growing up maybe with Japanese upbringing is different from the regular American upbringing. I feel like Japanese is like, we're so dedicated to perfection, to do your best, and then doing your best always will, of course, result in a better result.
Yeah.
But I feel like Japanese everything they do, you guys do just right.
Yeah. My theory to that whole thing is because, like, as a Japanese person, like, we're smaller built, we're not usually as athletic, and the only way we can keep up is we got to be more technical, right? And you got to be more precise, and you got to be more consistent. And then when everybody's partying, you're training. Like, that's how I thought. Especially like my grandfather, when I was like, oh, I'm going to be a professional I'm going to be the best racquetball. How you going to do that? Look at the black. You ever saw the black guys, how they built? They're made for sports. Show me one Japanese guy that's built like that. No more. What about all these big howly guys?
Yeah.
Look at them. You cannot compete with them. And then in my head, I'm like, frick that. I'll show you, old man. Right? And it's like, as I'm competing against these guys, I'm like, oh, frick. And I roomed with this black guy. And I couldn't, like, he could run, right? And so sprint-wise, I'm like, oh, frickin', like, well, maybe Gramps is right. Yeah. And then I run against these white guys that could hit the ball really hard. In fact, the number one guy was hitting 150 miles an hour, and I'm like, oh, frick. Yeah, maybe you're right, Grandpa. I can only hit 140. And then, while I was at UH, I had a physics professor, and my major was physics. And I walked up to him, and I was like, we were learning about leverage. And I was like, leverage? That's a racquetball swing? So I went over to the doctor. I think his name was Dr. Fee. I said, Dr. Fee, you ever play racquetball before? He goes, no, I play tennis. I said, you mind telling me how I can get the most torque out of this swing? Well, here's the formula. I go, no, I want you to look at it. So I brought my racket and I showed it to him. He was like, oh, interesting. He got all interested in it. Then he came to the racquetball club and watched. Can you shoot some video? I shot some video. And then he said, okay, the racket, if you hold it this way, if you hold it, like, he showed all the different ways to generate more velocity.
That's crazy, bro.
Dude, 1 year later, I broke their speed record at 191 miles an hour.
No!
And I still think if you Google it today, who hit the fastest racquetball and what speed was it, it still comes up as me.
Wow.
Yeah, and I credit
that's legendary, bro.
This is because this guy. And to go along with that story, not only was I hitting the ball the hardest, but I always believed that the serve is the key. And I think same thing with any sport. The serve is the key, right? So I worked on my serves to the point where I was hitting what they call perfect serves. Ungettable serves. So I would win matches. We're playing 11-point games. I beat guys 11-0, 11-0, 11-0. Once I got into the server's box, and you give me two serves, I got two chances for that. I'm going to take that chance. Most guys will hit a drive serve, hoping that perfect serve. They miss it, they go to a lob serve. But like I was telling you, I want the game to be like this. So I'm a drive serve guy. I'm going to run and gunner. Right? So they took away one serve. Specifically for me. But they told me at the time, nah, the game's going to be a lot more interesting with only one serve. So everybody went to a lob serve. And I was like, heck that, I'm going to still drive serve. Right? And of course, it wasn't as easy for me to win matches anymore because they took that away from me. And then, my racquetball career was over. And then I think in, I want to say 2012, they inducted me into the Sports Hall of Fame for racquetball. Ooh. And then I get this letter, and I still have this letter today. And the president of the association goes, remember when we took away one serve? That was due to you because your serve was so devastating that we had to do something to stop it.
Bro, that's legendary.
And then now it's back to two serves. So after I retired, they went back to two serves.
Wow. We got Egan out. We can go back to two.
Egan retired. He's doing jiu-jitsu now. We're going to go two serves again.
Wow.
Yeah. I have that on a paper from the association, so I got it framed with my Hall of Fame. But I felt like they were being prejudiced at the time too, and I feel like they still were because I got inducted in 2012. I didn't get the award, and I didn't know till 2020.
Oh.
I just got that thing.
Wow.
8 years, and the guy was like, I said, whoa. And when I looked at the plaque, 2012, and I go, like, and even the letter was 2012. I'm like, what the heck? Oh, we lost it on my desk. I'm like, for that many years, You just didn't want me to have it, is what it was.
You know, you might be. Some people might be salty. I can see that because you're a strategist. Yeah.
Yeah.
You find ways
Yeah.
that just probably piss them off. And they're like, "Bruh, this freaking guy! How dare he figure us out?" Right? Like the jiu-jitsu tournament. These guys, they're probably just salty as hell to this day. You know.
Yeah, and when I was playing racquetball, they kicked me off the U.S. team for something that I didn't do. So we're at the Olympic festival. I won the World Championships, Olympic festival. I win that. I've never drank alcohol because, you know, when Mitz told me that I got to take care of my body, I never drank alcohol. So after the Olympic festival, I went out with the judo guys because we had a bunch of judo guys from Hawaii. So we went and had pizza. In the meantime, the whole racquetball team was in my room drinking on the Olympic grounds, which is no drinking.
Yeah.
Knowing that they're not going to check Egan's room because Egan don't drink, and everyone knew it. So anyway, they get busted. I get back to my room. I'm like, holy crap, what the hell is going on in my room? So I pack all my shit. I take it out. And I was in the lobby, sitting in the lobby with all my stuff because I was like, I'm not going to be caught. Frick that.
Yeah.
But then it's because it's my room, they said, that if I don't tell who was in that room, I'm going to get kicked off the U.S. team.
Wow.
So I looked at the president of the association. I go, you know what? I said, I wasn't raised to be a snitch. I ain't telling because you guys know. And all I can tell you guys is I wasn't there. I don't drink. Why would I do it? Kick me off the team.
Fuck them.
Right? So they kicked me off the team. They thought I was going to cry and whatever, bitch, and appeal. I didn't. I was like, don't worry. 1 year suspension next year and qualify for the team again. Guaranteed. You guys watch. So racquetball world championships every 2 years. 86, I win it. 88, I cannot because I'm off the team. 90, I win it again. So I think I would have won 3 years in a row and been in the history of racquetball forever. But they took it away from me because I think it's prejudice. You know, they didn't. I mean, I played in Tulsa, Oklahoma, snowing, freezing cold. They wouldn't take me from the airport to the hotel. Had a seat. The other pros were like, Ian, jump in over here. They're like, oh no, that seat's taken. And they're like, by who? And they're like, the driver would just drive off. So I had to rent a car to get to the hotel. Now from the hotel, we got shuttles going to the club 1 mile away. Snowing. Not one would give me a ride.
Why?
I freaking jogged to the freaking place.
Why?
I don't know. The only thing I can think is they're being prejudiced.
Yeah, it's
as Asian.
Middle America.
You know? And that was like 1980s.
Yeah.
Right? And then my first day qualifying in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I had 3 matches that one night. Midnight, I end my last match. Like, freaking unbelievable. Like, soaking wet. And they're like, okay, the gym's closed. Everybody got to get out. I'm like, oh, frick. Like, I'm still all soaking wet. So I throw on my jacket. They close the door behind me. I'm like, wait. And so all the shuttles take off. No one will wait for me. I'm standing by myself. And I'm going, holy fuck. Like, so I shake the door. I'm like, freezing. It's snowing. And I'm like, can you call a taxi? They're, no, we're closed. I said, call a taxi for me. I know they could hear me. No, we're closed. I was like, oh, these motherfuckers. So I jogged back. By the time I get back, I had icicles on my eyebrows and my hair. I had hair back then. Had was all ice. And then I was like, oh, these frickers, I'm going to play the best racquetball I ever played. And
Adversity.
Oh, I knocked off the number 1 player. I knocked off the number 1, number 2, number 3 player in the world. And I lost in the finals. The next year, 6 months before the tournament, guys are like, hey, can we pick you up at the airport? Nah, no thanks. Everybody's offering me everything. No thanks. I don't need nothing from none of you guys. And it was like going, I was like, wow. I actually felt what prejudice really is. But it's funny because I could have folded and I could have been like, oh, poor me. Frick them. I'm not running in the snow. Yeah. Or you run in the snow and like, oh, that's why I'm going to lose because, frick, I'm all tight from the... But I was like, I'm going to freaking show these guys. Yeah. Like, frick that. You put me down like that, I'm going to play better than I ever played. And I did. Yeah. You know, and that's where I started learning, like, you know, adversity. Talk about adversity. You can look at it 2 ways. You can look at it and use it as an excuse why you couldn't do something. Or you can use it as a reason why you're going to even do better. Right? And so that was like another big learning thing for me, right?
it's always our choice.
Yep.
We can take it lying down and feel sorry for ourselves,
Yep.
or we can take it as a driving force,
Exactly.
as a fire.
Yep.
And because you use it as a fire and you were able to go beyond all the expectations, this is why you're at where you're at.
Probably because I just like struggle. It's like in my talks that I do in PowerPoints, I have this guy pushing this huge rock, and I put struggle. And I always ask, how many of you like struggling? Nobody will raise their hand.
Nobody.
And I always tell people, dude, you got to be willing to struggle, because if you're willing to struggle, you can have anything that you want.
100%.
Right? And so that's what comes up on my PowerPoint. And I see everybody kind of go, oh.
It's true though.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And on that note, I know you have a very busy schedule, but us at the Aloha Hour wanted to make sure that we're going to award you the Aloha Hour Hama Award.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool.
Because you won Hama.
I wish, man. I want to be a hammer, but with this,
you
I
are
can be
one
the
Hama.
You are a hammer, bro.
Thank you guys, man.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, super fun.
It was a
you
great,
guys.
great pleasure.
Wow.
And I'm sure that all our listeners and viewers came out on top today. Just listening to you and getting inspired by you is priceless.
Thanks.
You're a true motivational speaker, but from within, not for the nothing. You're from within a motivational speaker,
Thanks.
giving us motivation to continue and do the best we can.
Right on, right on.
Absolutely, bro.
That's always my hope.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you very
bro.
much, and we're going to
All
see you
right.
the next time.
Okay.
We're out.